Welcome to another episode of From the Logo Podcast. Myself, Hayes, and ZZ are in the building today. Gifted is on his way. He'll be joining sooner rather than later. On today's episode, man, we're going to be talking about Rich Paul stopping a reported trade, a possible trade sending LeBron James to the Warriors. We're also going to talk about Carmelo Anthony and his reactions to no allows and continuing going division by division, this time with the Southwest Division. ZZ, how's your week been, brother?
It's been good. Can you hear me good?
Yeah, you good, man.
All right. Am I crisp? Am I clear?
Yeah, you sound good as hell. So,
All
yeah,
right,
you
for
sound
sure, for
good.
sure. All right, I'm tripping. My whole setup is tweaking right now. I can't even turn my camera on. But hope everybody been doing good. Yeah, I've been straight. This was a hell of a topic idea, brother. So I was like, yo, because me as a Warriors fan, I'm kind of like upset at Rich Paul for fucking a good thing up before it even could happen. But we'll get to that.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, and I hope Gifted makes it in before we make it to that, because I know Gift is gonna have some thoughts on this for sure. But so reportedly, and I'm gonna go to the direct quotes from this one. This one's from Mark Stein. Says it's believed that the Lakers would have reluctantly entertained trade conversations with the Warriors before last February's trade deadline if James wanted them to seriously engage Golden State on a potential deal. But it seems like league sources say that the reported talks between the teams never at the time never got that far, in large part because James' agent Rich Paul was adamantly opposed to the idea of LeBron James swapping Southern California for Northern California. Sources say that Rich Paul implored both teams to scrap the concept because he wanted to insulate James from potential backlash over switching teams for the fourth time in his career. It's easy when you hear that LeBron James potentially switching teams another time in his career. Do you think that would have hurt LeBron James' legacy?
No, bro. It would not have hurt LeBron James' legacy. The chat know that. Everybody know that. Like, what are we talking about? LeBron is for him to be 45 years old, right? I'm exaggerating, of course. For him to be as old as he is and to still be as great as he is, if I read the report and it said, if unless LeBron, urgently wanted to go there. If you look at the turmoil in Los Angeles, at least within the last 3 years, and it's ended in the same thing the last 2 years, them getting beat by the same opponent. It's
Mm.
like, yeah, of course, LeBron is going to get frustrated with that. And if LeBron is looking at father time creeping up or retirement talks creeping up, and he like, you know what? It's about that time me and Steph get the people what they want to see type shit. And nobody would bat an eye. Nobody would bat an eye because look, at the end of the day, there's so much parity amongst big twos and big threes in the league. LeBron and Steph would literally like people would probably be rallying behind that duo just to beat everybody else. Like, nah, show them y'all the OGs of this generation, whatever. What's the Kevin Durant and Devin Booker like type shit? Like, so I'm like, why would Rich Paul want to mess that up? I don't understand, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing with this is I think that Rich Paul is also LeBron James' best friend, and I think that part plays a part into it. That maybe Rich Paul thought about it from an aspect of the friendship part over the business part of it. I don't know what it would have done to LeBron James' legacy. I'm not going to sit here and act like I know exactly how people would have responded to that, because some people are weird. It is what it is. Would it have been their naysayers? Yeah. Would have been people that loved it? Yeah. But the question, more importantly, is now going forward, is that with the play of Steph and LeBron, specifically in those last two games in the Olympics, do you think this could be something, if the Lakers struggle again, that could be revisited? Do you think it should be revisited? How you feeling about that part of it?
I mean, honestly, yeah, I could see it getting, revisited because it's like it's a situation where the Lakers didn't make any moves in the offseason, right? Any notable moves to improve this roster. They basically are running it back with the same crew and hoping that health and all that is in their favor, which I get it. Cool. You think that you have the right you think that you have decent enough pieces built around your big two and LeBron and Anthony Davis. All right, bet. We'll see. But as we know, in Lakerland, when shit get rocky, people start sweating over there because they don't know whose job they about to lose. They don't know,
Yeah.
but they do know that LeBron is gonna have his way regardless. And he has every right to. My precious king can do whatever he want. All right, ain't none of y'all put in that work like that. Not AD, not Vanderbilt, none. D'Lo missed me with that. What LeBron say go? They got JJ. Why do you think they got JJ over there? So it's not beyond the realm of possibility that a situation like that could occur. Now, I don't think that LeBron is going to end up saying, "All right, bet move me to Golden State or else. I don't know if it's going to be that extreme because honestly, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. It is what it is. Magic and Bird never played together. Michael and Isaiah Thomas never played together, even when they could have. Michael said no. Tell that nigga stay home. But so it's a situation where it could happen in another universe, but nah, it ain't gonna happen in this time. I don't believe it.
Yeah, me either. I don't think that we see something like this. That'd be too much. Like I won't say like right, but that'd be like a dream scenario. Like Steph and LeBron linking up in the last leg of their career to actually try to go on a title run. Like that sounds like something out of a movie, not in actually reality. I just don't believe it. And I I don't even know how effective it would be. Like when if they did combine forces and went over there, do you think that how far do you think that team could go in the playoffs? Keep in mind they would have theoretically had to have given up like at least one of their young pieces to make that work.
I was just about to say that. So theoretically, if this were to happen, which it won't, they would literally be doing exactly what the Suns are doing, which is banking on the star power of the team and hoping to God that they can figure out a way to squeeze in some role players or some, you know what I'm saying? Like they're hoping to be able to fill those gaps, but realistically know that they're very limited in the capabilities of being able to do so. So in the case of the Warriors, if that were to happen, pieces are going to have to be moved. And among those pieces will probably be some sort of combination of Kuminga and or Podziemski and or both.
And or all.
And or all. You know what I'm saying? Like the Lakers, they go. So the Lakers, they go just hand Braun over. Like, okay, this is some charity type shit. Like, nah, they gonna gut Golden State like a fish. They might take Steve Kerr with them. Like they don't you don't know. So yeah, the possibilities of that, I don't see it at all. Gifted, what about you, bro? Welcome to the show, brother. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm still cooked in traffic. I gotta say, I hate Detroit traffic. They don't know how to drive. So many accidents. But I must say, man, the Golden State thing is funny because I never entertained it, not for a second. And the fact that there's a follow-up report on Rich Paul making sure it couldn't happen to save LeBron's legacy, it feels very performative. It feels like we're in the middle of the offseason and people are bored with nothing to talk about. Because that was just a given from the very jump. I mean, obviously, we would have to gut a lot of our young talent just to try to get LeBron. And then number two, the legacy thing with LeBron is a thing because I do feel like he's still trying to play for that. And going to a team like Golden State, even if he did wind up winning, a lot of people would say, oh, look, he left and went to Golden State. So I know that he clearly wants Steph or some other star player to come to LA because that favors his narrative more, even though he would still be playing with a top of the top superstar.
Yeah, facts.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact. And the thing is, too, is like, again, I know we've talked about this a lot towards the end of the season and when we first started this show, but like, I get it that LeBron probably does want to star there, but the Lakers seem reluctant to move. It really comes down to, it seemed like at least, right, that the Lakers could have had a lot of trades at their disposal had they made Austin Reaves available, but they have a reluctance to do that. So do you guys think that it's a realistic possibility for the Lakers to bring in a star that becomes disgruntled, make a splash move or anything with their reluctance to give up on Austin Reaves, which seems like is the biggest trade chip that they may have, at least reportedly?
Yeah, like if you're Austin Reaves, you probably feel happy as hell that like there's that level of assurance that you'll be okay. Like Tyler Hero and Jimmy Butler ain't even getting that love in Miami. Like you know what I'm saying? Trae Young ain't even getting that love. He the franchise player in Atlanta. So for Austin Reaves to be able to be like, okay, my name is pretty much safe in trade talks is like probably something that he's probably going to use to motivate him. But it's interesting for me because it's a situation where even if, like I said, even if they wanted to entertain this shit, which is not attainable, like it's really not a thing that I think is very feasible for any party involved. I don't think that LeBron at this stage is really like it's a storybook ending, but it isn't really worth it. Especially when you look at the landscape of the league, especially when you look at the landscape of the West, which we'll get into later on in the show. But it's not a feasible thing for either side. Like Gifted said, the legacy talk is going to be there. Yeah, you could say LeBron 40 and he didn't won it all and done it all, but it's a situation where it's got to be Steph going to over there. And for Steph, the only way that that's going to happen is if the Warriors end up not giving him shit in his last couple of good seasons of production. So we'll see, but it's not feasible right now.
Yeah. Anything to add, Gifted?
Yeah, the Austin Reaves stuff is funny. Like, I like how he's this untradeable piece for the Lakers when I just don't think he's that good of a player to demand that. I kind of feel like the reason why they're acting like he is this safe, coveted asset is to really inflate his value. Because more times than not, if you tell anyone, hey, you can't have this piece, oh, look, that piece has to have some value because you're telling me I can't have it, even though that piece might not really have that much value, right? So I feel like it's more of a buffer play to try to raise up Austin's value, because I can't imagine if they know that they could trade for a star player, Austin Reaves is the reason why you don't get the deal done. I really can't see that. And if that is the case, that just speaks to front office ineptitude again for this franchise.
I mean, why do you need to trade for a superstar when you got Bronny James there? Clearly, he's going to be the next generational player for that team as well.
Oh God!
Oh yeah, they really need those 4 points.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Listen, you how many games have come down to 4 points in the finals? Bronny James he's primed in the finals to have a 4-point game that's just going to send the Lakers off into winning the next title. It's definitely going to happen. If the Lakers somehow were miraculously to get to the NBA Finals, does LeBron demand that Bronny James gets on the court?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. If they somehow make it to the finals, at that point he trying to win everything. He for sure not gonna let him play. Absolutely
not. If they make it to the finals, that's all. Like, all bets are off at that point. If I'm Bron, like, we here. Fuck you.
Anyway,
we here is crazy.
That's funny. We here. Anyway, moving on from that one. This next one is, I'm glad somebody finally said it, especially after Noah Lyles was interviewed. He didn't even know he didn't even know the foreign players. He asked who Nikola Jokic was. Anyway, Carmelo Anthony spoke up against Noah Lyles. He said this when asked about Noah Lyles. The reason why we call ourselves world champs over here, to what I said earlier, this is our game. The world comes to us to get the game. So yes, we are the world champs. Semantics, I understand. And then also further earlier in that, he says, why do you keep shooting at the NBA? If you want to shoot at the fact y'all ain't got no league for your own. Shoot at why they aren't pouring money into that sport, which they should be. How do you guys feel about Carmelo Anthony's response to Noah Lyles, as he does keep speaking on NBA business?
I feel weird about this because I think I'm one of the only people in the NBA community who just doesn't really care too much about what Noah Lyles has to say. He doesn't watch basketball, and that's fine. I feel like all he does is he does his gamer stuff, and then he runs, and that's all he does. So telling someone who doesn't really know how good the NBA is, they don't watch it at all, that's why he made the comments that he did. And technically speaking, he's right, but as Carmelo said, it's really an overall semantics thing. We know which league has the most talent and what really pushes every type of needle. We do know that. So I'm not really moved by either comment from Carmelo or Lyles. I kind of feel like people have just grabbed onto this comment and it's reached like a complete life of its own, but it doesn't really feel that serious to me.
Well, the thing is that he keeps talking about, like, he was on Shannon Sharp and Ocho Cinco, and they were asked about that on the nightcap. He says, "Is Nikola Jokic one of the best players in the world?" I gotta be honest, I don't know who that is, but yet you keep talking on NBA business. It's just weird. Go ahead, ZZ.
Yeah, that's the point I was about to get to. Like, I don't really care about it because, like Gifted said, technically, if you look at the technicalities of his argument, you see what he means. But like Melo said, if you look at the semantics of everything, this is the basketball league of the world. Like, if we're being 100% honest, this is the one league that is the most globally popular, if you will. You can make an argument for the EuroLeague, of course, because of their players dominating in the NBA competition. But once again, where are they playing in the NBA? Where do we see these world-class basketball players? in the NBA. So I get both sides of it. Me personally, I don't give a damn because, like you said, the fact that Shannon Sharp brought up Nikola Jokic and Buddy said, I don't know who that is. That is not what you say. That's not what you say to the internet. The niggas that's been roasting you, like that's not what you say. That is the last thing that you should say. If anything, you should have just ran off some facts you thought you knew about him, like you confused him with Luka Doncic or something. You could have done that, and then might have been able to skate by. But the fact that bro said he didn't know who the 3-time league MVP is, and arguably the most famous European player outside of Luka Doncic in the league, what are we talking about? Like, what? So I just think that he's just looking more and more dumb. The shit with Adidas and Anthony Edwards, that pissed me off because bro, you sound like a pick-me, and that's it. Like, we can't even respect you as a world-class athlete. You are representing the United States of America, and that your own country don't even fuck with you because it's like, yo, it's like we got to keep you at a distance. Like, yay. Like, we have to literally keep you at bay. But we fuck with you because you represent our country. You over here shitting on Anthony Edwards all because you want to shoot you? What? Saying that he hasn't even made it to the NBA Finals. It's not like you would have watched anyway, nigga. You don't even know what month the Finals is. Like,
he definitely don't. He definitely does
like,
not. That's true.
Like, what are we talking about? But whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it is one of those story non-story things because at the end of the day, like, the only reason this got press is because he is a world-class athlete in his sport, and he said something at the time about the NBA, why are they called the world champion, and it like to both your points, there is a legitimate conversation you could have around the NBA champion being called the world champion. I would love to see, and I know it's never going to happen, like an exhibition game between the NBA champion and the EuroLeague champion. That'd be something fun.
Come on now, Hayes. They smacking their ass. We know that.
Yeah. I mean, no, I'm not saying they're not smacking them. I'm just saying it'd be fun to just see that exhibition. That way to kind of quiet some of the dumbassery down. But at the end of the day, like, it is what it is. They
busting their ass. I'm sorry.
They're called the world champion because the NBA it has representatives of all the world in it. It is what it is. You can agree, you can disagree. That's what it is. That's what it's going to be. It ain't going to change. So fuck it. Just shut the hell up. Like, especially when it'd be different for somebody like like a Nikola Jokic to say something like that. But for somebody who doesn't even watch the sport of basketball to continually talk about the sport of basketball, it's like somebody who the only rapper they listen to is goddamn Ice Spice, and they want to have a conversation about battle rap. Shut the hell up.
Yeah.
Shut the hell up.
I do got one question. All right. So like, okay. If he's going on shows and they ask him questions about his comment, because that's really the most popular thing, even though he won the gold medal, like, they're going to ask that because obviously this is a hot button topic for some people that's going to drive up engagement, clicks, all that stuff. I think he hears the question, and part of me feels like he's a little bit of a troll, right? Like, I definitely see that part of it for sure. But I feel like if they keep asking him the same question, that's why his name is going to be forever aligned with whatever the NBA is because of those comments. I feel like there's no way to really escape this until he stops getting in front of microphones, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, but just to get back to his comments in 2023 said this. You know what hurts me the most? That I have to watch the NBA Finals and they have world champion on their head. You clearly didn't watch because that year in the finals that he said that was the year that Jokic and the Nuggets won the finals. So clearly you didn't watch it. Yeah, like, that's the whole point of it. Like,
that's crazy. Yeah,
it's crazy to say that. So, you know, it is what it is, though, man. Fools are gonna fool. But let's get into, man, what our rolling topic between now over the next couple of weeks is. We're going division by division in the NBA. Last time we did the Atlantic Division. Now we're going to move to the West and do the Southwest Division. These in the Southwest, you have the Mavericks, the Pelicans, the Rockets, the Memphis Grizzlies, and the San Antonio Spurs. We're going to start with the defending West Conference champions in the Dallas Mavericks. When you look at what the Mavericks has done, they added Klay Thompson, they added Najee Marshall, who left is Derrick Jones Jr., Josh Green, Tim Hardaway Jr. How do you guys feel about the Mavericks' chance of repeating as Western Conference champions?
Well, for me, obviously, it hits close to home because my boy Klay is there. But at the same time,
nah, bro, hold on. You said Klay.
Klay.
Klizzy's wild, bro.
I've never
I'm not
heard
gonna
no
hold
one
you.
say Klizzy for Klay Thompson. I'm gonna be so real with you.
You ain't never heard of nobody say Klay Thompson.
Never in my life, no.
You ever seen Sausage Party, bro? The movie.
I
Oh,
have seen
he did
Sausage
say it
Party,
on
but
Sausage Party. They did.
this,
Yeah.
this might be
I
a
get
bad
what you're
correlation here
saying.
for those that don't know what Sausage Party is.
Hey, yeah. Anyway, moving forward, they got Klay over there. He chilling. Najee Marshall, of course. Quentin Grimes. I like the Quentin Grimes edition. The
Mhm.
Najee Marshall edition is going to be great for a little bit of a spark defensively, I guess. But that's where my question mark lies for Dallas. Offensively, I feel phenomenal about what the possibilities of what they can do over there. Right. For me personally, I think this is going to be another career year for Klay. The same way that 2023 and that first full regular season was, where he led the league in threes on 41%, shooting 11 threes a night. Like that type of efficiency and consistency, being in a lesser role and having less of a responsibility, even just standing in the corner, knocking down open threes. I think he's going to have a pretty big year. Outside of that, like I said, the only issue that I really have is the defense with the lineups that include Luka, Kyrie, and Klay Thompson. It's really going to be up to them funneling people down to Derek Jones, like funneling people down to Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford, which is going to be an issue. Because if they're just getting past you every single time, shit, we saw what happened in the finals. That recipe doesn't really work all the time. So, yeah, that's my only issue with them is really defense. Offense, they're going to be like the kings of the year.
Now, to that point, after the Daniel Gafford and PJ Washington trade, the Dallas Mavericks had the second best record in the league, going 21-7 over that time. They also had the sixth best defense over that 21-7 stretch. They were 22nd defensively before that point in time. So one of the bigger questions is can they pick up where they left off defensively? And that is a question. Now they've added Klay. I like the acquisition of Klay to this team, but that's the biggest thing is that what we saw last year after the acquisition of Daniel Gafford and PJ Washington, is that something sustainable for a full season, or is that more something because your team, you added two pieces, role players that played heavy minutes for your team, that teams just didn't adjust to it, and you were able to get a little bit more out of it then, and how teams are going to adjust to it for a full season. So what do you guys think about that aspect? Can they stay even ranked in that top 10 to 12 defensively? Do you think the Mavericks can stay ranked in that for a full season?
That's interesting. I feel like a lot of that has to tie into the improvements we see yet again from Derek Lively. People have to remember he was a rookie player coming in. He was injured for good parts of the season, and he got better as the season went on, especially in the playoffs when it mattered most. I feel like the question about their defense has to be tied towards their front court productivity because their rim protection with their athleticism is why they were able to make it that far. Also, I feel like losing Derrick Jones Jr. is kind of tough because athletically, he was a wing body who could guard. He was also a athletic lob threat as well. I think they have to replace it a bit more fundamentally with a guy like, I would say, Najee Marshall, who is a Swiss Army knife type of defender. Seeing how that translates, I'm curious about. But I do think that offensively, even if their defense might not be as good consistently as it was, I still feel like offensively they will be a better overall team considering who they got and the level of shooter that Klay Thompson is and can impact their overall lineup. So I look forward to that. But defensively, I think they're probably going to be just a tick worse overall. I still feel like they'll have moments where they can really dial in. They will still play the same scramble defense they normally do, but we got to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, how you feeling about them defensively, Z?
I mean, I'm more inclined to like I understand the argument for what they were doing in the second half of the season, but with the new acquisitions, right? And teams also in their conference having new acquisitions like the Oklahoma City Thunder, who might be the most complete team in the conference. Like I question because you got to get used to a new situation. Same thing happened with Damian Lillard last year in the Bucks. I was like, will they make the playoffs? Yes. Will they start off hot? No. There's time for them to have it that they're going to need to figure out things. In the case of the Dallas Mavericks, the fact that Derrick Jones Jr. and the role that he played as a defensive, threat at times for them, especially on the perimeter. You're asking Najee Marshall to replace that. It's not like he can't replace that, but for me to bank on them really being able to get it rolling right out of the gate, I don't know. Like I said, with the offense though, I'm cool with that. The only issue that I have is we saw what happened when Luka Doncic was ran up on a team like the Boston Celtics that were literally complete as a team, probably the most complete team last year, right? That was a situation where it's like, all right, let's see what you do against this type of competition. Luka was getting blown past every play. Kyrie couldn't guard a parked car, and now you add Klay Thompson into the mix of that. And what you're going to be banking on is that offense to carry you, which is cool. It is what it is. But is that sustainable enough to get you through the postseason with how deep the Western Conference got even more in this offseason, right? And we'll get into like teams like the Pelicans and that team, right? I can look at and say that defense is probably going to be nice, but then there's the health concerns, right? So there's different, So, but with the Dallas Mavericks, those are my concerns mainly.
I think their defense is still going to be close to the same because their scheme is very simple. We're going to funnel everything to the paint. And we're going to dig. And then our bigs are going to have to block shots at the basket. I think they'll struggle if they face a more perimeter-oriented team. If you really look at their run, the way they beat OKC was they were bigger than them. They were able to rebound them more. There were offensive liabilities on the floor for OKC. And Luka was still able to get off many, 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 many lobs, right? I think it's still going to look very similar. The only thing is they're down Derek Jones Jr. and they're trying to replace that with whatever Najee Marshall can do. So they'll still be able to do similar things. But the real question is like, how are they going to manage the Klay thing? Because we can talk about how smart it is to play Klay every now and then and maybe not close with him. But if they're treating Klay like we have to start him, he has to play high minutes every single game, that limits how versatile they can be.
Exactly. And that's a good point to piggyback off of, because that leads me to the question of, like Gifter just said, how are they going to look at Klay Thompson? We looked at Klay Thompson last season and we said at points, we're thankful for everything that you've done. You did help us get 4 championships, but stop taking contested step back 3-pointers over 2 niggas, Klay, please. Is that too much to ask for? Right? You're playing for pride a lot of the time instead of for the benefit of the team. Now that he's in a new situation, the grass might be greener on us on the other side, right? Cool. Mark Cuban is probably going to be looking at Klay Thompson like, hey, man, come on over, man. They hated you over there. Same shit he did with Kyrie. Come on over. We got you. What you need? You need 50 million. We got you. Yeah, come on over. Start Klay. You need to say you want to still be able to shoot and not have to take on that much of a load offensively and defensively. We got you. Like Gifter just said, we funnel everything into the paint. Now, it was a good enough run post All-Star break that they had defensively to make me look at, after the trade deadline, of course, really, for me to look at them and say they really went out there and got the pieces that they needed at that moment. Because you remember at the start of last year, all of those issues defensively was defensively was the number one issue that they had as a team, was just defense. And then they made the trades, and then they went on the run. And now you're in a situation where Derek Jones Jr., who was a big part of that reason why that perimeter defense was so sustainable enough to where it wasn't a situation where you were always funneling everybody down. You were able to at least get some stops. Even Luka Doncic was I remember that the most viral play of the year for the Dallas Mavericks is a Luka Doncic digging on a steal, good diving on the floor, getting it, and then it turns into a Kyrie lob to Derek Jones Jr. And in that moment, it's like you see Derek Jones Jr. impact on the perimeter is making Luka Doncic say, I'm going to go out there and try to get it. Kyrie's defense for the first 2.5 rounds of the postseason was like that as well. It was an effort thing. So with Klay Thompson being in that mix, gifted, we saw it. Like, how would you, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate Klay Thompson as a defender currently?
He's like a 4 or 5. He has moments where he can be productive in post defense matchups, sure.
Yeah, and what is the biggest reason for that? His length, right? It's just his size as a human being, his height at the end of the day. I was like, yeah, he ain't got the legs, but he got the reach if need be, But that's the only beneficiating factor. Now, let me ask you all both this question. Out of Kyrie Irving, Luka Doncic, and Klay Thompson, rank them defensively in a starting lineup.
Oh, that's very easy. Kyrie,
Okay.
probably Luka, and then Klay, to be honest.
Okay.
Kyrie when he's locked in for sure.
Yeah.
I'd agree with Gifted. Kyrie when he's locked in is still can still be really good defensively. Luka and then Klay.
Okay. Yeah. I was gonna say the same thing. If anything, depending on like it could be a random Wednesday and Luka and Klay might switch, but Kyrie's gonna be the best option out of the three of them. So, like Gifted said, it's a situation where I'm interested to see what those rotations look like. But at the end of the day, the biggest question is how are they going to view Klay Thompson? Are they going to say, "Hey, we're going to really treat you like Tim Hardaway Jr., where if you own, great, but if you're not, you're going to be rotting away on the bench on your way to Detroit." Like, I don't know. I don't know how they're going to treat Klay Thompson.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting part to see is how Klay Thompson fits in with all this, how healthy he can stay over the course of the season, and how much that catch and shoot threes that he can hit opens up the floor a little bit for the almost a different Nuggets for the Dallas Mavericks next year as well. Klay Thompson, who was at one point at 42% off catch and shoot player, now he's 39%, which still isn't terrible, but it's just not the gravity that he once had before. So. Gift is gone. Oh, now Gift is back. He's at home. All right, we're gonna move into the next team as Gifted comes in. As the New Orleans Pelicans. Now, the Pelicans part of this is interesting. They, of course, added DeJounte Murray. They lost Jonas Valanciunas, Dyson Daniels, Najee Marshall, Larry Nance. The thing about the Pelicans are they went 49-33 over last season, but they had the point differential of team that goes 54-28. One of the more interesting things about a stat that sticks out about the Pelicans, in the first half of games, per 100 possessions, they outscored their opponent by 11 points. In the second half, that's second best in the league, by the way. In the second half of games, they were -2, which is 19th in the league. Second halves of games absolutely killed the Pelicans in a lot of games last season. How do you guys view the Pelicans coming into next season?
Listen. I haven't gotten to their team yet in my podcast thing yet, but the Pelicans to me are easily one of the biggest dark horses in the NBA. I really, 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 I'm saying one more time, really hate bringing this up, but the Zion picture does look crazy this time. We've seen this story a lot, I know, but I've never seen him look like that since Duke. I've never been able to see Zion's neck for real. His neck looked long as hell. And I'm like, the fact that I can see his neck.
He has a neck. He has a neck. It's crazy.
That's what I'm saying. So like it shows you that like he was really putting in work on his body. The problem is that to Hayes' point, those are great metrics to bring up. Another metric is last year, their best defensive lineups were without Zion. Some of them didn't have Zion or Brandon Ingram, but the constant for both of their lineups always had Trey Murphy and Herb Jones. But Ingram isn't gone. They traded for DeJounte Murray. They don't have a center outside of the one that they drafted. So there's a question mark there. And what I heard from their general manager is they're speaking about having Zion be the 5 and legitimately just go small ball with Herb Jones and Trey Murphy and all their players. I don't like that idea per se, but I do think you're going to see a heavy dosage of that during the regular season. I could see that.
I mean, that's interesting. Zion at the 5. I get it that he's a physical specimen and whatnot, but for somebody who's already had trouble staying healthy in times that's scary. Go ahead, Z.
Man, I look at the Pelicans, like Gifted said, on paper, they are a dark horse, and there is no argument there, especially when you consider what they have been in this Zion, Brandon Ingram era, if you want to call it. And I guess you can include CJ. Like, we talked about this team a couple years ago when they were at the top of the Western Conference, healthy, and then Zion got hurt. We talked about this team last year when they made it through the play-in, and we sat here, I think, even from the logo, and I think all of us pretty much had them coming out of the play-in, and then Zion got hurt. So it's a situation for me where, like Gifted said, I haven't seen Zion look that well ready to go for a season in years, right? I look at the team, though, and I think to myself, did they lose a little bit too much? Are they missing something here? And like Gifted said, you can say a center for sure. Them losing JV is terrible. I've always been a Valanciunas fan, even back when he was in Toronto. But just to lose him, a player of his magnitude, is a player whose presence can only be explained by like Steven Adams in Memphis. Like that type of presence is needed in a starting lineup, and from what he can be able to provide you as a serviceable center. With Zion running the 5, I don't know what that looks like. I really don't. Obviously, I know what a small ball lineup looks like from being a Warriors fan, right? But at the same time, Draymond at the 5 and Zion at the 5 are kind of different. Kind of different. You can say that you can see it from a defensive perspective, but even then I'd be like, no. And then another question mark for me is Brandon Ingram. Now, DeJounte Murray being there, cool with that. Absolutely cool with that. Everybody outside, like in terms of everybody outside of a center, like a Herb Jones for his role, phenomenal, right? CJ McCollum and what he's been able to do as the point guard running the show, it was great. DeJounte Murray being there, what he can provide at the 2 guard with his level of defense. Imagine a perimeter in which you're switching off of screens from DeJounte to Herb fucking Jones. Like all that is great. But at the end of the day, it's like that there's like a wound in this team. There's a hole that needs to be filled. And what they're banking on is they're going to bank on their draft pick, which is cool. They still got like Daniel Tice, which is okay. But I don't know. And at the end of the day, it all comes down to health. So I don't know how to look at him. I don't know.
There's so many unknowns when it comes to the Pelicans. Team. Yeah, they are a very interesting team. They also just added Javonte Green, who's a really good role player as far as he's able to be productive in any minutes that he does play. They added him today. I don't know how much he's going to play on that team, especially when they have Trey Murphy and Herb Jones and trying to kind of figure out that rotation. One of the bigger questions here when you have to look at the New Orleans Pelicans is what happens with Brandon Ingram. Do you guys think he's probably going to start the season off on the roster? Is Brandon Ingram still a Pelican by the end of this season?
A lot of that is dependent on how good he looks. And I mean that because if Brandon Ingram starts out their season on fire and they're clicking, one of 2 things happens. They either use that momentum to trade him and get off of his contract, which for a lot of people is deemed as a negative because he wants a max, or they say, wow, he's playing very, very well. Let's keep this thing together, and they play out the whole season. In terms of will he actively finish or not, I really feel like it depends on where this team winds up being. If they're competitive, like top 4, top 5 early on, they might not do it. But we all know how fast in the Western Conference that can change. 3 games can be the difference between the 1 seed and the 12 seed, literally this season.
Facts.
Yeah.
And that's the scary part. So at the end of the day, they have Zion himself has no choice but to put together a healthy campaign, because at the end of the day, the Pelicans' biggest issue over the last few years is they've had great moments in the regular season, haven't been able to sustain it, and then they end up in a situation where they were good enough to make the playoffs, but they don't have their number 1 player leading them into the postseason. So that's something that is still wild to me, that we haven't seen Zion in the postseason. So for me, it's going to be one of those things where we're just going to have to see what happens. And let me just say this, okay? Brandon, you said earlier in the stream, I just put you in timeout. Now I'm about to do it again, but before I do, you said earlier that Klay Thompson was never an elite defender at any point in his career. And then you proceeded to say that he was getting cooked by James Harden in Houston. Even though in the 3 wins that the Rockets had in 2018, James Harden shot 9 of 24 in one of those games, 11 of 26 in another, and 5 of 21, including 0 for 11 from 3 in Game 5. So even in the games that the Rockets won, Harden was getting that ass locked up. So please stop with this revisionist history bullshit that y'all keep trying to spew for players like James Harden, and understand who the hell prime Klay Thompson was. Now, yeah, and I am citing 3 games. The 3 games that they won, nigga, Chris Paul was the reason that the niggas got them games.
I would be very cautious. I think the better argument for you to make, ZZ, would be just because of prime James Harden's cooking Klay Thompson does not mean he wasn't an elite defender, because James Harden is one of the best offensive players of all time.
You damn right, Gifted. You damn right. You damn
Just
right.
saying.
That's a way to look at it. However, I'm not going to.
I tried.
No, it is.
That's hilarious.
Let's move forward. Let's move forward.
All right. Anything left on the Pelicans? Oh, I guess one thing. I know we touched on it a little bit. Like DeJounte Murray there at the point guard. It didn't work out in Atlanta, mainly because of the dynamic between him and Trae Young never quite worked out the way that the Hawks had hoped. DeJounte Murray now coming here, going into backcourt with CJ McCollum. Do you guys think that is going to be a successful backcourt?
Well, I think CJ was never a real point guard, so having DeJounte in that spot can be good. I think the quickness of DeJounte with his own athleticism with the team can make sense. I think they can really push pace at a high level, but I really have to be sold on how the ball reps are going to work between Zion, BI, even CJ at times with Zion. Like, I got to see how that fits between all three of those guys, because they're all better to me when the ball's been in their hands. A big part of why DeJounte is not on the Hawks anymore is because there was a redundancy between that backcourt. To me, that same problem rings true with their three current best players on the roster. So how that fits out, I really got to see it.
Yeah, it's a situation where you can look at it one way and say it helps pick up the deficiencies of CJ McCollum, right, at the helm on the defensive side of the ball. But even in Atlanta, bro, like DeJounte became, I don't know about y'all, but he became a lot more of a gambler over there. He was still a good perimeter defender, of course, but it's one of those situations where you look at him and you can see the difference between like a player and like him and his defense and like Drew Holiday, for example. You know what I'm saying? Or even Marcus Smart. The differences in his game. Marcus Smart earlier in his career in Boston used to be a lot more of a gambler than he was necessarily a good defender that you can
I'm
stand.
gonna be honest with you. I think Zizi being nice. He was not a good defender. He wasn't. Let's just keep it a band. All this gambling shit sounds cool. He was not a good defender, and that's fine. He's been a good defender in his past, but he was not a good defender last year. He was dying off the ball. He was going for steals. He wasn't good. Can he reestablish that on the Pelicans in a role where he's not having to be used as much offensively? Maybe.
Yeah. I agree. I was just trying to be, nice about the situation. But Gifted said what I was thinking. I ain't gonna.
Gifted said, "Hey, fuck all that nice shit. We ain't even finna do all that. Like, we ain't got time for all that nice shit."
That's facts.
Right, let's move on to the next team, the Houston Rockets. The Houston Rockets, who ended the season on a really good run, trying to push past the Warriors for that last playing spot, did not end up having it. Of course, they have a huge disparity with their home record versus their road record. They were 27-14 at home, 14-27 on the road, which is 22nd in the NBA. They added Reed Shepherd. Otherwise, the team primarily stays the same. One of the bigger questions with this Houston Rockets team is that Jalen Green's season really kicked off after Alfred Sengun went down with injury, and we never really saw those guys be effective at the same time on the court. So that's one of the questions coming into this season for this team. Where do you guys sit right now in the Houston Rockets?
Shoot, like you said, I mean, they were close to making the play-in last year until that nigga opened his mouth. But at the end of the day, it's not like we weren't sitting here saying, watch out for the Rockets, because they were cooking at one point. I got to give credit where credit is due. Now, at the same time, my question marks for the Houston Rockets are, how's Alperen going to be when he get back from that, full season? He had his injuries last year. He was going on a little run right before that. So I'm interested to see that. I'm interested to see the projection in Amen Thompson. Freddie as well. Another question mark about this team for me is Dillon Brooks, because I'm gonna be honest with you. I've always gave Dillon Brooks his props as a defender, but as an offensive asset, this nigga is about as reliable as Tobias Harris. So and that's not saying much at all, by the way. It's not. Gifted, I see your face. It's not saying much at all. When I say that, I mean this is a guy that had the green light in Memphis for no reason whatsoever. 43% last year from the field, 13 points, 36% from three, which is it's respectable, I guess, for Dillon Brooks, but is it really helping the team? it's a situation that I feel like if Dillon Brooks isn't playing, a stout level defense or elite level defense for them on the perimeter, he could find himself ended up in a situation where he's coming off the bench for someone else that they might throw in there and say, hey, look, he might help this, move this needle forward for us. But those are my only thing. Cam Whitmore, interested to see him too. But yeah, I believe in Ime Udoka as a coach to get that team to realize the talent that they have if they play the right way and under the right motivational tactics he can throw at them as a coach. I believe in that, which is why I'm giving them mostly their flowers. But I don't know. I don't know. I'm interested to see it. Jalen Green is a little erratic for me at times in terms of his production. So the question that I have really is, who is the best player over there? Who is the leader, right? Is Dillon Brooks considered the vet? And if so, what are we gonna do about that? You know what I'm saying? There's too many question marks of what is who the alphas are over there for me.
Yeah, I want to be clear. I don't like Dillon Brooks.
Mm-hmm.
I never have. I think he does a lot of extra shit there on the floor. But if there's one thing I won't do is compare anyone who's not deserving of it to Tobias Harris, because he stinks. He's awful. And from the games I watched, he was clearing Tobias Harris. In fact, the Sixers would have loved to have Dillon Brooks over Tobias, because the one issue I had with Dillon Brooks for his entire career is his shot volume was pretty awful, where he would just take a lot of really ill-advised shots. Now, he still did that on the Rockets, but to a way lesser margin.
Mm-hmm.
He shot a better volume on three because he didn't take as many as he was taking on the Grizzlies. His defense was good, and he showed a lot of maturity in terms of understanding the game at a higher level on the Rockets. So I feel like he's the last person I'm worried about. I got to be honest with y'all, man. Hearing people legitimately ask who the best player on the Rockets is funny to me, because Jalen Green only showed up for 2 months of the entire season. He was god awful for the majority of the season. He was trash. People were saying he was not a core player in their young core because of how bad he was shooting the ball. Once he started to figure it out, we only got a couple games, maybe 5 or 6 games with Şengün to judge that. And then Şengün got hurt. And then obviously from that point, Jalen Green started shooting 40% from 3 on 9 attempts. That's how good he was, right?
Yeah.
I feel like for me, people are really asking the wrong question. The only thing that moves the needle for this team in terms of how good they're going to be is their defense. And last year, the big part of why they were winning games, despite how bad the offense was their defense. They were in the top 7 in terms of points per possession given up in the NBA. And remember, that's without Tari Eason playing 62 games. He was gone for the majority of the season. So to me, adding him back in, I'm not saying he's like a Draymond level defender. What I am saying is his impact in terms of what the lineups now look like makes every rotation a lot better defensively, which raises your overall value, period, right? And then I think offensively, Reed Shepherd, I think he'll be ready just because of shooting. They needed a sharpshooter badly. Yeah, so I feel like Reed Shepherd could actually come in and play some spot minutes as a shooter, which can really open up the floor more for them. Also, Amin Thompson played very well at the end of the season. Defensively, even if the shot is broke, I hear all that, but defensively, he was great. His playmaking and passing was also great. So I feel like collectively for the Rockets, I can expect them to be a better team than last year. Now, does that guarantee that they make the playoffs? No, but I think they are legitimately in playoff talks. They're in that real conversation. I don't look at the Rockets as a bottom feeder like maybe the Trailblazers or the Jazz, right? I think they are a legitimate team fighting for playoff positioning this year.
Felt that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the Houston Rockets are a team to look out for, because if they can find that balance and unlock that level of play that they had towards the end of the season with Alfred Şengün still being there, that opens up a lot. And then Reed Shepherd, they added Reed Shepherd to this team, who I love the upside of Reed Shepherd, especially as somebody who can be a distributor, which they may need at times. And he's learning behind Fred VanVleet, things like that. So I really like this Houston Rockets team. Just overall, I don't want to bet on them just because of the way that they ended that season, but they did end that season really strongly, both defensively and offensively, and getting out and running. It was great. When you look at Jalen Green and Amin Thompson finished the season at 57.5 true shooting percentage, which puts them right at the league average. And if they can take that a little bit further, hey, yeah, it can be a nice run for the Rockets this season.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. We just have to see exactly what translates, because I got to be honest, the biggest X factor on this team is not Şengün, it's not Tari Eason, it's Jalen Green. What is he? Is he the dog shit player I saw for the majority of months that should have not been on the team? Or is he one of the best young athletes in the NBA who can actually shoot the ball? What is he? If he's in between that, they're going to be a good team. If he's bad, they won't be a good team.
And they got to make the decision soon, too, because if I'm not mistaken, which I'm going to verify myself real quick, he's a restricted free agent at the end of the season, is he not?
He sure is. They actually chose to not extend him or Şengün. So this is very much a prove a year for the both of them.
Yeah, and they may very well be trying to look at how they balance out together and then make a decision on maybe which one, if their play continues to not be able to be effective when each other is on the court, that could lead to a decision that the Houston Rockets have to make.
And then Şengün will get traded to the Suns.
Is that what you're predicting, Gifted?
Listen, all I'm saying is we know the Suns are going to blow the shit up. I've been saying it for 2 years now. They will want a star player back. If Şengün has a dominant big season where he's only 23, that's a star that you could get back. KD, Texas. I'm just pointing something out. I'm just monitoring that overall situation.
All right. Anything left on the Rockets Z before we move on to the Grizzlies?
Nah, let's get to him. My boy Josh Shiesty.
Yeah, let's move over to the Grizzlies, man, because this is one of the more interesting teams. This team was riddled with injuries throughout. It was always something that happened with them, between Josh starting off suspended, coming back, getting injured, missing the rest of the season, things like that. The most used lineup by the Memphis Grizzlies last year only played 68 minutes together. They draft Zach Edey. They lose Zaire Williams. G.G. Jackson, who really stepped up for them at times last season, it looks like could be a steal for them, who they ended up having to extend and give some money to already. But the question is with Ja Morant coming back, how does that lineup shake out? Jaren Jackson Jr., does Zach Edey end up starting for them? How do you guys view the Memphis Grizzlies heading into the season?
Oh man, I love the Grizzlies. I've been saying this for like a while now. There was one year where I doubted them. I thought they'd be like a 6 seed, 7 seed, and they were literally the number 2 seed in the NBA. Since that season, I don't really doubt them. I think the athleticism paired with their defense, paired with what Ja, Bane, and JJJ just offer up as the trio, I think it's a winning formula. I think that G.G. Jackson, as a young player, can buy into a role off of their bench and really develop more this overall season. I think the most underrated part about all of this is they also got Brandon Clark back, and he was the best backup big man in the league when he was healthy. So now it's like when you see everything coming together, I think they have the blueprint to be a very good team. I personally have them as a top 4 team out west. That's me. So I'm high on them.
Yeah, I'm high on them too, but that's also based off of not when the year that Gifted was talking about, where he projected them to be a low seed and they ended up as the 2. In that year alone was where they throughout the regular season was where you can see a similar situation to what you have in Oklahoma City, minus plus more arrogance and ignorance. But at that time, the Grizzlies were talking their talk and walking the walk throughout the regular season, and you can see the culture building. You can see the core of JJJ, Ja, and Desmond Bane really taking fruition. And even in that version of the Memphis Grizzlies, that was the one that had Dillon Brooks as sort of the biggest mouthpiece for the team outside of Ja Morant. Now what you have is a situation where there is no more Steven Adams, who was also a part of that unit and was a good kind of grounding piece to that starting 5. You have Zach Edey, and he's young, raw prospect, and you're asking him to fulfill a role essentially and to pretty much just play his part. And I think that a team like Memphis could very well use a player like a Zach Edey. It's something that I think he'll be very comfortable with very quickly. And then when I look at the team last year, obviously we knew they were riddled with injuries. They were the 30th ranked offense. They had the 30th ranked offensive rating in the league, and they had the 12th best defensive rating in the league, despite all of their struggles, despite all of their injuries, right? So what does that tell you? when Ja Morant gets back, when they have Ja, JJJ, Desmond Bane, Zach Edey, the emergence of GG Jackson off the bench, right? Marcus Smart at the helm on the perimeter, teaching Ja Morant his little tricks and shit. And we already know Ja is one of those sporadic defenders where he can have the best defensive highlight play of the night, right? But hopefully he's a little bit more grounded on defense himself, not gambling too much, but focusing really on figuring out ways to just time his jumps and shit to contest shots. That's basically all he needs to do with that amount of athleticism for his size. And then you put all that together, they look dangerous, bro. They look dangerous. Taylor Jenkins, right? I love Taylor Jenkins. I was like, this is a guy that had to deal with all of that noise that this team was spewing in the media, but still having them ready to go throughout the regular season to get that high seed that year, right? To still have them ready to go for the postseason. You know what I'm saying? Like, for all of that, you give them a healthy team next year, shit, it's gonna be a movie.
I have heavy belief in the Memphis Grizzlies, and maybe that's just me looking too much at what they were at one point in time. But like, I look at this Grizzlies team and I say, if they have health, we've seen it. The sum of the parts outweigh the individual parts. This team is a true team. They bring out the best in each other when they're playing together. Desmond Bane and Ja Morant are a really good backcourt when they're playing together because they overcome each other's issues. The bigger question that I have here is that there's no other team that I would have liked to see Zach Edey go to than the Memphis Grizzlies. I think they're used to playing with a center like him. They just need him to do what he does well because JJJ does not want to be a center. He wants to be a power forward. He plays better when he's at the power forward. And I don't want to I'm not hinging everything on a rookie, but if he does acclimate well and plays well with JJJ in that starting lineup for the Memphis Grizzlies, I think that's going to help take them further than what they were before, but they got to keep everybody healthy. They got to stay healthy.
Facts.
So we'll see, man. And it comes down to how motivated is Ja Morant coming back to this season. Because I tell you what, a Ja Morant that's been out of basketball for the better part of a year because he only came back for a short amount of time, I think he's going to come back with a vengeance. And still, GG Jackson as well. Like, GG Jackson stepped up so well for that team. You all right there?
It's easy, cooked himself.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. But GG Jackson looks so good for that team. And I think having a player coming off the bench that showed the flashes that GG Jackson had could definitely change the outlook of this Memphis Grizzlies team as well.
100,000%, Hayes. I could not agree more with that. I want to be clear. I don't like JJJ because I think he does a lot of things that are not disciplined. But I think he had to go through so much without the two of them. I think with them back, he's going to look like a much better player. Also, this team still has Marcus Smart, who was a viable player when he was healthy. I feel like with him in a bench role or even on the floor with them, he can provide them a ton of value. So I like this team a lot still.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Memphis Grizzlies are going to play good basketball next year. Anything left on the Grizzlies before we move to the last team in this division?
Keep Ja off for IG Live.
Yeah, please do. Like, just keep
everything will be all right.
The last team in this division that we got to talk about is the San Antonio Spurs. Of course, they have Wemby on this team. They've added Chris Paul to this team as well. You know, they Harrison Barnes as well. I almost forgot about Harrison Barnes. They drafted Stephon Castle. This is a team that won 22 games last year, but they are third in the league as far as nationally televised games going into. So either the NBA just understands that everybody just wants to see Wemby, or maybe they have high expectations for the Spurs next season. What are your guys' expectations for the Spurs?
I get to see Wemby hoop. Team is still not great. I think Chris Paul adds a ton of value just based off of being in the locker room and helping guys lead and pass the ball and get to organized sets. But I still think this team is very rough around the edges. They need a lot of their younger players to take leaps. They need Vassell to take a leap. They need Keldon Johnson to be a productive two-way player, if possible. And more importantly, above all else, they need Wemby to be Wemby. They need to be playing him 30-plus minutes a night. He needs to be one of the most dominant players we've seen in the NBA. And that's their claim to being in the play-in conversation. I really feel that way. And the funny part about the Spurs is, even if you don't think they are a serious team, you can't treat them like that because they will take games off you. They beat the Suns in every game. The Suns never beat the Spurs, right? So you have to take them seriously. And I think that just speaks volumes to what this team already was, even though they weren't great. Also, the development of their draft guys like Castle, I really want to see how that shapes out. So their season is going to be very interesting to watch. I think if Wemby is closer to the player we saw at the end of the regular season, and we get that from game one, it's going to be a very long season, man.
That's a fact. That's a fact. Could definitely be a very long season. ZZ?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. The Spurs are a team that I haven't really been able to figure out how good I think that they're going to be, because as much as I'm a fan of the Chris Paul addition, I have a very weird feeling that even if that does pan out for the first half of the season, that might be ammunition to get Chris Paul a trade up out of there to a real contender, to a bigger contender, depending on how that shakes out.
Fair point.
So I don't know. I just know how the NBA works at times and how they look at players having good spurts, especially before the trade deadline. So for as much as I think that it'll be an improvement for the, raising the floor of how good Wemby can be when he's actually being targeted by his point guards, I don't know. Harrison Barnes is another interesting one because I've always had respect for Harrison Barnes. Not a lot post the 2016 finals, but still some. So I look at him and I say he's a good enough addition to a team. And he was pretty solid for Sacramento in the years that he was there, even in their breakout year a couple of seasons ago for his role. So that can be nothing more than an improvement for them, especially defensively as well. You can make an argument from three. And then Stephon Castle. He's going to be having the luxury of listening to Chris Paul be in his ear, for a majority of this season at points. So learning from Chris Paul about, hey, you see that big ass nigga in the paint? Pass him the ball. Like, don't do what Jeremy Lin did last year. Do more of what Trey Jones was trying to do last year. You know what I'm saying? Like look for him. Look for him, please. I think it's going to be great in that regard. But I got to ask y'all, how many years of them not making the postseason does Greg Popovich have left, do you think?
Ooh, that's a great question. I don't know, man. Listen, Greg, I would probably have had a different answer for this a year or so ago, but I saw him run Jeremy Sohan at point guard for almost 40 games.
Yeah, exactly.
I think at this point, Greg Popovich is just doing shit. I'm just not even gonna lie to you. Excuse my French on that. Greg Popovich is at the point where he's just doing shit. So I have no idea, brother. None.
Yeah.
If this team didn't have Wemby, I would be like, he's going to retire next year. I think because there's Wemby, he said, fuck it. We're just going to see what we got. We're going to run Sohan at the point guard to see if he can do it. We're not going to be good anyway. I'm fine with that. I think with Wemby, that has revitalized the rest of his coaching career. Even if he's not here beyond 5 more years or whatever, I think he wants to at least see through the early stages of Victor's overall development. I do believe that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true as well. And having Stephon Castle here now as well, I think is going to help with that. Also, and him, the thing about Pop is that Pop is a coach that has seemed to really enjoy developing players, whether that brings wins or not. Of course, he wants to win, but I do think having a player like Wemby and a team that's developing could be enough to keep him around. One interesting thing that I did mean to point out, bad hosting on my part, is that even though they got murdered last season, they only won 22 games. When Tyus Jones, Devin Vassell, and Wemby were on the court together, they outscored opponents on average by 9 points per 100 possessions. Do you think that lineup gets used a little bit more next season? Again, clearly, I think does Pop not believe in Tyus Jones? I don't know what's going on there. What you guys feeling?
I think their biggest impact lineups are. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I was didn't say Tyus Jones. That's my fault. The names are too similar and they look exactly alike. My bad.
Yeah.
They do. They do. Yeah. I think the new impact lineups for that is going to have Chris Paul in it most likely, just because of his overall decision making. I don't think Trey Jones was that good. I just think because they lacked another passer of his caliber, those were the best lineups. I think Chris Paul can fill a very similar role in that same spot. Obviously, the scoring chops aren't going to be as dynamic as it was in his past, but literally just a guy who can throw a post-entry pass with no problem, a guy that won't turn the ball over, and a guy that can at least be vocal even if he's not that great anymore is what they need. They don't need much. They just need a guy to get Wemby the ball and help everyone else understand what a good possession is. So I think for them that works.
Yeah, and then not to add on top of that, even though the offense, or at least the bag is a little bit more limited, the shots that he can still create for himself if necessary, he can still knock down. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Even at his age. That's why I have Chris Paul over Russell Westbrook all the time. One of the reasons, because it's like, yes, he's older, but I can still trust in Chris Paul to really get the best out of the entire play. Whether that means he's benefiting a center like DeAndre Jordan or a big man like Blake Griffin or Clint Capella or whoever it is. He can get now he has Wimbanyama, a guy that I saw Chris Paul last year throw a half-court pass to Jonathan Kuminga from half court, and he was able to throw it down. I've seen him throw lob passes to guys like Trace Jackson Davis and be able to unlock him at a time in which he wasn't seeing a lot of playing time until Chris Paul started involving him more and more into the offense because he realized, hey, look, you're a 7-footer. I can get you the ball in any spot that you need it. Just let me know. With Wimbanyama, that shit's going to open up to be more. Another thing that we're not talking about, too, is Devin Vassell. I don't know how y'all feel about him, but always been a guy for me that I was like, you know what? This could be a sneaky, second scoring option if he gets hot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like for the team. Now, at one point, I didn't know if that was going to be him or Keldon Johnson. I didn't know what direction they were going in. But last season, Devin Vassell was averaging close to 20, I think. So I was like, okay, maybe it's him. Yeah, look, he shot 47% from the field, 37% from three. And you're sitting there and you're saying, of course, they're empty stats, given the context. But if you're building upon that and you're looking for all of your scoring punches outside of Wimbanyama when teams try to throw 4 niggas at him, he's one of those reliable options for them. And then not to mention the fact that Stephon Castle, even though he was known more for his defense and he can score a little bit, the playmaking aspect that I think Chris Paul might be able to pass down upon him when the reins are given to him to run that offense, it's just through the roof. Like the advice level that he can really give and what this team can do, not necessarily next season, but in the coming seasons, what they can build to, if that makes sense.
Yeah, makes perfect sense to me. The Spurs are going to be, to me, as somebody who's not a Spurs fan, this league pass team all day from now. They're going to be a lot on national TV as well. But
we locked in.
I'm watching every single. The Spurs may be the team I watch the most, other than my team, which
I want to slay your role on that. I don't believe that.
Pray for me. Pray for me.
No, I don't think that shit's true at all. I
gotta watch the Bulls. Any team is better than that. Like, what are you talking?
No. I get that, but I'm telling you, Sohan shit. Oh, Chris Paul injury. Imagine if Wemby missed 10 games. You gonna watch every game? Hell no.
No. Well, yeah,
I will because but shit.
Of course it comes down to Wemby being healthy, because if Wemby's not healthy, then that's it. That's a story for another day. I ain't got time to be watching the Spurs without Wemby. No, I'm not a masochist. Like, what are we talking about here?
You gotta think too. In the last like 10, 12 games of the season, Wemby was averaging like 24, 12, 4, and 4. And you got to remember too, for as many great games as Wemby gave us, majority of them were on a minutes restriction, where he was like creeping past the limit in which he could play, depending on the game, right? Like that Phoenix game, that Milwaukee game, I remember that vividly. But the fact that I'm sitting here saying we didn't see Victor Wembanyama last year in over 30 minutes of play, like what are his averages going to look like when he's playing normal minutes? It's going to be crazy. I believe Wemby has the capability to lead the league in scoring and lead the league in blocks. I also firmly believe that at one point in the next however many years, this nigga will win an MVP and a depoy, and no one will bat a fucking eye. He might do both unanimously. No one will bat an eye. Of course, there are going to be some Luka supporters. There are going to be some Jokic supporters, what have you. But I think that taking over the league from just like you said, they're getting all them damn nationally televised games, and they won 22 games last year. Why is that? Because everybody in America is going to be talking about that big ass unicorn in San Antonio. Everybody. And
that's a fact.
It's just crazy. It's crazy to see.
We'll see, man. Ultimately, like, the Spurs are going to be a fun team to watch. I don't know if they creep into the play-in or not. We'll see what happens there. But this is a team that Chris Paul, for what it's worth, is going to try to unlock the things that we need to see from Wemby. And we'll see if that happens. It could be a fun experience. And also, Harrison Barnes is just one of those non-problematic vets who just does whatever you need him to do.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I'm not gonna lie, Hayes kills me with that because all he said right there was he's just mid.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a more
he's just mid.
I'd say mid if it was a veteran that I didn't like, and it was just like, oh, he does what he does. But like, I like Harrison Barnes. Like, he's a player that I respect what he brings. Right at this point in his career, to still be as productive as what he is. But it's not like when it comes down to it, like if you take Harrison Barnes off this team, I'm not gonna be like, oh shit, what are they gonna do without Harrison? No. I mean, Devin Vassell is cool. Keldon Johnson's cool. Like, it is what it is.
It's the equivalent of what happens if you take Tobias Harris off the Pistons.
You know what it is? Harrison Barnes is pizza. You know, like sometimes, like it like a Little Caesars pizza when it's hot is actually pretty okay. When it's piping hot, it's cool. Anything, it starts degrading the moment it comes out the oven. You got to eat it quick as possible. So is Gifted frozen or is he just chilling? See, you never know. Gifted would win a staring contest every single time. He does not move.
Man. I'm elite, bro. I got great balance, man. I do. I really do.
That's
locked in. That man locked in.
Oh man. Anything else, fellas, before that's left? We went through all the division. I mean, the whole division. Any overarching thoughts left on this, man?
Man, Hayes, you know what I'm finna say.
What's that?
You know what I'm finna say, man. Lonzo Ball playing 5-on-5s.
Yeah.
They said he couldn't do it. They say he wasn't gonna be on shit. Lonzo playing 5-on-5s. Talk to me, Hayes.
Let me tell you something, Hayes. I don't give a damn how you feel about Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball off-season workout video in 2024 is more valuable than a Ben Simmons one. So,
for fact,
lock.
Give it flowers. Give it its flowers right there.
Fact. I mean, listen, anything a gifted workout video it's more like, and that's not to say Gifted don't work out, but it's just saying like I trust at this point Gifted's ability to get on the NBA court more than Ben Simmons being effective on the NBA court. That's all I mean with that.
That's hilarious.
But so when it comes down to Lonzo Ball, it's just, to me, it's just this one, Zoe. It's all good. Like, I get it. He said also that he's guaranteeing he's gonna be on the court sometime this season. That's cool. You're clear for 5-on-5. He's still a long way away from being cleared for actual NBA basketball. And even then, like I said, we're looking at best Jonathan Isaac. Jonathan Isaac played 16 minutes a game last season. It is what it is. Like, I mean, I hope that he comes back for his career and for him to be as young as what he is and to have his career kind of taken away from him because of injury. That sucks. I hope he can get back on the court. I'm just not betting on it until I have to see Lonzo Ball on the court and staying healthy for at least 15 games before I'm willing to believe anything.
I feel it.
Okay.
So,
I'm here for it, bro.
We'll see, bro. Like, I gotta watch Bulls games next year, bro. Like, it sucks, bro. Like, like watching this team play, I do think they're gonna be somewhat better than what people are expecting. But then the Bulls marketing team reached out to me. I get to go to 5 games next season. I don't have to pay for them. That's all love. That's all love. But they invited me to games against teams like the goddamn Mavericks and the Celtics. So I'm just gonna sit there and watch my team be destroyed and try to smile about it. That's the problem in this.
You are going to pretty tough games. They might out the gym. It's possible.
That's what y'all know what y'all was doing. How much pain can we put Hayes through this season? That's what they did.
They did set you up a little bit.
It is what it is.
I wanted to ask what were y'all thoughts about the season schedule overall?
We did
and
touch
like
on
the new
schedule.
things that they're trying because I saw something that said that they're trying to make sure that every national game is no longer after a back-to-back. Like, they're all independent games now, which makes a ton of sense. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think that's smart for the integrity of the nationally televised games, so you can make sure you're getting the best out of those players when they're on nationally televised games. I do think that's putting so the rest of the league had to pick up the slack, right? So there are a lot of teams. Yeah. If you don't have a lot of nationally televised games, you're having between 13 and 15 back-to-backs this season. You know, it is what it is. Be better, I guess, when it comes down to it. But yeah, I like the less back-to-backs overall, just from a league standpoint. I also like the Christmas Day schedule. There's a lot about the schedule I did like. I think that the NBA is getting a lot more thoughtful in how they used to put these schedules together, because I can't tell you how many times it was last year where like a team would be on a road trip in California and they'll like face the Lakers and the Kings, and then go back home and then come back out and face the Clippers. It's like, why not just face them when you're in California
Why not just
already?
have it all done right there? Yeah.
So
right.
Yeah, facts.
100% feel you on that. Like, it better maximizes the value of where the teams are traveling, so you can do everything in your power to limit injuries. Like, why are you not just knocking out all the games right over there instead of going back home? Like, it's so weird to me that they would think to do that, you know?
Yeah. Z, how you feel about the back-to-back, the no back-to-backs after nationally televised games?
Shit, I know Kawhi Leonard is jumping for joy in wherever the hell.
I don't think he's jumping.
He is he is he is literally doing calf raises for joy at the idea of this. And I see like both of y'all's points on it. I agree. It's a situation where it's been an issue, right? For not just players, even fans have chimed in on it over the years. So, you know, my boy Big Sylvie trying to figure out a way to cut down on the complaints I see. The one thing that I'm waiting on is fuck back-to-backs. What's up with the All-Star game, bro? What we gonna do? What's no, not the All-Star game necessarily. What's up with All-Star weekend, bro? What we gonna do?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like here's my thing. If the All-Star game is shit, I've never cared. The last All-Star game that I thought was decent might have been the first year that they did the captains, and it came down to
that was good.
And they triple team Steph in the corner or whatever. Like, that was good. But before that, right, the 2016 All-Star game was the one where I was like, this feels like an event, right? Kobe's last one, Russ and KD on the same squad, Steph hitting the half-court shot at the end of the game. It was bullshit. They weren't trying, but they were trying to entertain, which was cool. And at the same time, because that All-Star game wasn't anything, we at least got a good all-time classic dunk contest, right? And a good three-point contest. So for me, even if you can't fix the All-Star game, which I understand, you can't convince the players to give effort when they really don't care at all. And some players don't really care if they don't make an All-Star team. They're looking at it as vacation time, so it is what it is. Okay, figure out something to do with the other events. Steph versus Sabrina was a genius idea. If they end up
you gotta bring Caitlin Clark out to this shit.
You gotta
do it.
Now, this is the time where the WNBA is in a little bit of a boom period.
Mm-hmm.
On that. Bring over the stars of that league, which you know who they are. Like Gifted said, if we can get a Sabrina and Caitlin Clark versus Steph and Klay, fuck it, whatever, cool. The dunk contest, I don't know what the hell they're gonna do about that. You can replace that, but I don't know. They still got a little bit more work to do. Back-to-back is cool. No back-to-back is cool, but come on now, Adam. We still got a little bigger fist to fry.
I do have an issue though, and it's the one thing that's kind of bothered me, because they're trying to grow the W, right? And I get having WNBA stars at the NBA All-Star game, but to me, you get way more. I like, oh shit, Steph Curry and LeBron are at WNBA All-Star weekend. Right? Like, that will bring more eyes to the actual W to me than going the other way. Oh, what's up? What's up, hey?
You know why that won't happen? Because
why?
NBA players aren't going to come off their offseason to do WNBA events, whereas WNBA players in their offseason will come do NBA events.
That's what I'm saying. That's weak to me, though.
Your logic is sound, and I completely agree with you. But from just what I've seen, like it's hard to even get NBA players to come out to WNBA games. I don't see them coming out to WNBA weekend and suiting up for an event. I just don't see. I would love for it to happen. You need to be on the WNBA's marketing team. I would love to see that happen. I just don't know.
It's so simple to me. It like I see so many players vocalize their overall support. They got the shirts, all that stuff. We see a whole lot of people there. We know some NBA players dating dub. Like, there's so much things going on, and it's like, this is the highest it's ever been. Maximize that. Like, y'all should be taking off even further on that, to me.
On top of that, too, like, you just made me think about the time. I remember when Luka had taken a picture with some WNBA jersey, and the team ended up retweeting him back, like, basically on some, like, I don't know why you holding up the jersey when you come to the games type shit. So, like, to Hayes' point, it's a situation, and then back to Gifted, it's a situation where you can talk all you want about wanting to, advocate for the league, but it's a situation where if it takes Bam Adebayo having to come pull up to watch Asia Wilson play, but bringing Jimmy Butler with him to kickstart a movement, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if it has to take that, cool. But is that really going to happen? I don't know, because a lot of NBA players that may be franchise players like Luka in that situation where it's like you just got called out for a fake PR stunt. So how are we supposed to take the W seriously if you really not standing on your word? That's not a situation that you need. Now, like Gifford said, if it's a situation where LeBron and Steph, they got some free time because, you know, they the old heads and they can do whatever they want, cool. That would help, but it's going to have to take a group effort from multiple players just stopping the advocating only online type shit and really be about the action that you're speaking of to really let the fans know, oh, we should take this seriously too, even though the three of us do, obviously. But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, for sure. We'll see, man. I don't know what. I mean, get back to ZZ. Like, what do they do for All-Star Weekend, NBA All-Star? I have no idea, bro. Because I'm telling you right now, I don't think they know, but I don't care. I don't care. I don't. They did something like, and I hate to say that because like All-Star Weekend, I remember there was a time like 10 years ago where literally for All-Star Weekend, the dunk contest, 3-point contest, me and my best friend used to do it like it was Super Bowl weekend. We would order wings, we would chill out for a few hours, and we knew we were going to watch some events. Now, I'm cool watching the highlights. Now, I did watch the 3-point contest last season. With like, I did watch that, but like overall, like that whole All-Star Weekend to me was, other than that event, was just all things that I'm like, let me see the condensed version on YouTube after the fact.
Yeah. That's a bad taste to have on an event on a weekend that used to mean so much more, bro. And I'm like, I don't understand how we can say we done with the 90s and the 2000s when at that time they were really caring about every single thing that had to do with the NBA. I think that for as talented as a league that we have, it is the most talented of all time, but it might also be the laziest of all time if we're really keeping it a buck in terms of the events that used to be all about that fanfareness or whatever. It's not the same thing anymore. And you can hear that from the players, even with them talking about like not even wanting to like give that much effort over an exhibition game. Okay, cool. But meanwhile, you know, in the early 2000s, you see Kobe and Kevin Garnett teaming up to absolutely try to cook the fucking Eastern Conference. Or Allen Iverson giving you that MVP heroic play in the All-Star game in a situation where it's the best players in the league versus each other. So hypothetically, right, the concept of the All-Star game is why fans are outraged, because the way that you're marketing this shit is the best of the best going against each other, which leaves us wondering, okay, LeBron's like for years, LeBron is in the East with Wade and Bosh, cool. And they got Melo and Derrick Rose and Dwight, okay, versus Kobe and KD and Russ. And, you know, like that was what it was. Now it's a situation where, like you said, Hayes, like I used to even get hyped for All-Star Weekend, like clear my fucking schedule out for a Saturday to watch the dunk contest. But now I'm at a point where I literally did the same thing. The only thing that I tuned in for was the 3-point contest and the introduction for the All-Star game. After the first quarter, I was done. I was like, I don't care who wins this shit. You had Karl Anthony Towns giving you 50 for no reason to lose by 20.
Yeah.
Crazy work.
Yeah, we'll see what the NBA can do to save it, man. But yeah, that's the show for today, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Everybody that tuned in live. ZZ, Gifted, go ahead and tell them where they can follow you at. Gifted, because you're at the bottom, they can't see your banner this time. So,
yeah.
Okay.
It's all good. You can follow me on YouTube, Playback, and Twitter at Gifted Hoops. On Twitter, it's Gifted Hoops _. I'm actually going live for another podcast episode in 30 minutes with a Raptors writer, so should be pretty fun. But that's where you can find me.
Yep. Y'all can find me at ZZ Huncho on pretty much all platforms, mainly on TikTok, where I am continuing my series of part 1, 2, and 3 of the best plays from the regular season last year. Y'all can tune into that fun series I like to do over there, and drop some of your favorite plays in the comments if you want. And other than that, you'll catch us next week.
Absolutely, guys. Guys can check me out at CEO Hayes. If you want to check out my Chicago Bulls podcast, which is Chicago Bulls Central. I pray for all the Bulls fans out there. We're going to get through it together. But more importantly, you guys can check us out right here from the Logo Podcast every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern time. Down to once a week for now. We'll ramp back up as the season comes along. But that's it from us for today. We'll see you guys next week, y'all.
Absolutely.
Peace.
Have a good one, people. Peace.